Do you think your mind is trustworthy? Well, I don't. And here's the reason why. It's because the mind has been given to you for many things, but one is to protect you. Point in case, do you think you would starve if you didn't eat for a day or two? Actually, science says you wouldn't starve. You might not even really, your body wouldn't even experience negative effects for a long time. But what would your mind do? It would create an environment that the world was ending. Like everything was about to come straight unglued because you hadn't had an Oreo cookie in 24 hours. Well, Ray, was this, so you're saying my mind is something I can't trust? No. And yes, what I'm saying is your mind is built to protect you, and it is built to give you a couple different responses, the fight, flight, or freeze. I believe the freeze has been added to that, as far as the counseling side goes. But when we look at this and we start applying this to our everyday life, sometimes what we perceive as just a normal activity that we have to do and it's going to be uncomfortable, our brain sees and feels the emotions as if we're getting attacked. No joke. I mean, so for you salesmen out there or saleswomen, you try to make that phone call to that really high-end customer that you've been trying to get in contact with, your brain, your mind, not your brain, your mind will create an environment where you could do that later. We shouldn't do that. This is not good. So you have to fight your mind's, I guess you could say, distaste for what you're about to do and do it anyway. Because, see, we have to understand that we can see forward of the threat that our brain or our mind is taking on and know that it's not a lion about to jump out from that bush that moved. It is a phone call. But what happens when we begin to trust our mind more than our reality in truth? Well, it creates the environment for us to lock up, seize up, have worry, anxiety, fear, not do what's required of us. We have a whole section in the DSM, mental health and mental disorder book, about this one topic, is that we get trapped, taken hostage by our mind's ability to over analyze and over dramatize every activity that we do. And you'll see it a lot in children when when something has hurt them, so they're doing something, they get hurt, and they're really apprehensive about doing, like riding a bicycle or on a skateboard, but that's a small window because their desire to be able to ride a bike or their desire to be on a skateboard is usually, or the drive to do that is usually a lot higher than what the pain actually felt like. So where are you going, Ray? Well, what I am is that your mind is not your friend. It's not your friend in your business. It's not your friend in your relationships. It's not your friend in any aspect of your life. Your fitness, nowhere will your mind give you the hard path, give you the push that you need to make the extra sales call or go the extra half mile or do that work, even if it costs you some free time. And I'm not talking about being a robot in this ultimate working machine, but why would we self-sabotage so much over things that are not true? And I know for a fact that there's people that are looking at my face right now and they are dealing with fear, anxiety, stress beyond measure. And it didn't happen over one thing. It's like a compounding effect of this thing didn't work, this thing didn't work, this thing didn't work. And guess what? Things don't work sometimes. And when I was younger, so 25 years ago when I was 25, I just gave myself away. Sorry about that. So someone could have told me something and I probably wouldn't have taken it serious because I lived in an extremely egocentric world where I had my answers and I had my reality and I was trapped in my own ability to think in my little 25 years worth of experience because my ego or the status of myself was way more important than success. Head scratcher, ain't it? Well, I mean, hold on a second. At 25 years old, I wanted to be successful, but really what I wanted to be was self-efficient, and I was an egotistical little turd. I guess that's a good word that we can use on YouTube. But if we take our status, that's so when I was growing up, you had status like, okay, I could shoot free throws or I could do this. Status was a physical thing, or you were the popular one in school. That was kind of what status is. Right now, status can be bought. Any one of you listening to this can create a video, create a product, and go spend tons of money, and you can have status because you can get noticed. Now, I don't advertise my stuff, but if I did, I could accidentally, way before I was successful at being able to keep my chair right, turn the volume on, because yes, I just did a 26-minute podcast with no sound. Goodness, got to learn how to use this stuff. That's part of, I want to be successful, and my status in this, like, yes, you're going to see the video with my chair leaning back. You're going to hear the words that I did a 26-minute, very good podcast. You're never going to hear because there's no sound, unless we can have someone read my lips but that's stupid. I'm sure AI can figure it out. Someone right now is sitting on their couch eating Cheetos because they don't do anything but fail and everyone else succeeds. They don't have the tools or the resources or this or that, which is 100% what is going to keep you broke, stuck, and at the bottom of your own emotional capability. It is your responsibility to regulate your emotions, regulate what you allow your mind to think about and process. And yes, your brain and your mind does prevent you from doing things. I would say if you were standing on a cliff and you looked down and your brain said jump, point made. Don't jump. You don't have a parachute. You don't have a rope. So what does all this mean, Ray? How you're telling me you've just done a really crappy job at breaking your chair and all this stuff, but you're saying my mind's not my friend. Well, your mind's not your friend because your mind is protecting you from what you need to do to be successful. What you want. And you got to want it. Like that little kid riding a bike that falls a few times. You know what? They want to ride that bike with their friends. And so there's status there. Then I have the status of being able to ride a bike. But then I have to be successful in doing the bike riding before I can have the status. And you need to get that because so many people today have just bought their status and have no success. And what you really want and what you really desire, which right now, if you're in between the age of freaking 6 and 600, really, mind wants status. We just want the fun, the notoriety, the look at me. This is how smart and how successful I am. But truly, there will be a time where you sit there down on your couch or your bed, and like I've had to do, and I was overweight. My mental health was trash. Every relationship, including the relationship with my wife and my kids, was garbage. And the only person's fault was mine. Now, was there some responsibility with other people? Yes. Did people do incorrect things to me? Yes. Did I do incorrect things to other people? Yes. That's a common. That's a common ground. We are not perfect vessels. We're going to mess up. Other people are going to mess up. That should not change your direction. And how this came to me is that I have tried for a couple of years, 2022, 23, to do 75 hard because I was a former Marine, spent some time in the Navy, so I'm 2 service veteran. And honestly, kind of like you college people, when you get out of college, you never read a book again. I got out of the military and never did physical fitness again. Not the greatest idea. So I was standing at the cliff of, a whole bunch of bad repercussions, but really it was what I earned. I earned these problems for what I didn't do. There was no one out there telling me not to go for a walk. I just made up in my mind that a walk wasn't good enough. I mean, come on. I mean, the base hits didn't work. I believed that I had to be able to do something one time and then everything be fixed. And that's the only way, because here's what I want. I wanted the status. I didn't want the success. My mind was lying to me saying that doing the work, going for the walk, sharpening up your food intake and getting some help was not going to work. that was trivial, and no one else has got to do this. So here comes this ego again and this status again saying, why can't I do it by myself? Why can't I do this? Well, there's this guy named Andy Frisella that kept screaming at me. Well, he was just talking loudly. He was talking with authority. Let's say that. On this phone while I was driving down the road trying to like glue myself into someone that would accidentally buy from me because I was a dumpster fire with my job, with my family, with everybody. I didn't like me, and my brain was telling me that it was everyone else's fault and it was everyone else's opinion and everyone else was to blame. And the day that I realized, when I had a whole line of pills that I was about to take to stay alive, and I sat with a counselor and she was like, you're not too far gone, but you're running really fast to the end of the road. I had to take personal responsibility of my thoughts about myself. Because who talks to you more? You. You are the one who is speaking to you the most. And that voice is your voice coming from your mind. And it can either tell you really good things, or most likely it's telling you a whole bunch of lies to protect your feelings, to protect your body, to protect everything that it thinks is valuable, because it sees every threat as a lion in the bush. And if any leaves rattle, any plants rattle, the lions come. It can't decipher the difference between you emotionally being upset because someone else is winning because they did the work and you're not. So you get locked up. Oh, you can't do it. You need to go hide. So I put myself in this position to where I was going to do this 75 hard series. Boy, was I a willful, ignorant person. Willfully ignorant. Failed 3 times. Didn't even get to 20. I think my highest one was 21 days. Go look at this program. It's actually free. 75 hard. A lot of people hate it. More people love it. I owe my life to it. And it's not because I lost a little weight. It's because it reminded me, like when I was in the Marine Corps, hey, what you tell the mind to do, then it will find a way to make the body do it. I switched it and was trying to get the mind to tell the body what to do, but I wasn't giving it the information. I wasn't setting the standard. So no more lies. And the way you get to no more lies is you got to be mentally tough. And what 75 hard done for me is it put a bunch of stuff on my plate that was tough. 2 workouts a day, 1 outside. You got to eat by a meal plan, no cheat meals, drink a gallon of water a day, read 10 pages out of a book. Now I did a lot more than this, but here's the hardest part is I had to take a pro picture of myself, which was the hardest really for me. Once I got used to doing all this stuff, it was really hard for me. The hardest part, I mean, right before I went to bed is when I would take this picture most of the time because I just hated it. But here's the deal is my mind would try to negotiate with me not to take a picture that I didn't have to share with anybody. This is ridiculous. What is your mind telling you not to do right now that honestly could benefit you? That could benefit you. Everything. It's trying to protect you because you haven't set the standard. So what you got to do is you got to put your standards of what you want on a piece of paper. You got to write out what the cost is. What is the cost for me to do this? And then you got to go do that no matter how you feel and no matter who sees you and no matter how fun it is, because status before success is 90% of the time failure. If you just want to be Instagram famous or you want to be noticed, and it's not really important for you to be good at something and for you to have success and be able to do it no matter who's looking, then you probably just not need to do. You need to take it off your calendar and stop thinking about it. Because if you're trying to impress someone else, they don't care. When you walk into a room, let's say there's 50 people, you probably think, oh my goodness, what are these 50 people thinking about me? Do they think I'm fat? Is my clothes weird? Or is my shoes right? Am I pretty to them? Or am I handsome to them? But really, what they're doing is they're looking at you who walked in the door. I wonder if this person thinks I'm pretty, not fat. It is a contribution of the same stupidity that is dealt to every single person that you step in front of. They are more concerned. It's an egocentric view of an external world that is supposed to serve them. And you have got to stop trying to serve a world that doesn't even notice you. until something goes wrong or something goes really, really right. They don't care about the between, the dash in between zero to hero. They just care about when you're a zero and when you're a hero. That's why you have to care more about the dash, the life, because if you sow anyone else's opinion or anyone else's perspective or anyone else's celebration of your victory or celebration of your failure to this, now you can use that as fuel. You're going to fail even if you succeed, because you're going to end up doing something and not being happy, and your brain's going to tell you, look, you did all that work and it didn't work. So where are we going here? Your mind's a liar about 90% of the stuff, because, and the reason why it's a liar is because you have not taught it how to think. So you have to set a standard, live by that standard without compromise. And if you can't do that, then you are the problem. It's not anyone else's fault. Now, I'm not saying that you're not being held back, harmed, brutalized. And I mean, there's always evil in this world and you're going to have to deal with it. But if it is completely stopping you from being able to do anything, then you have allowed theory, words, and things that don't matter to completely end your life before your breath stops. That's not fair. You have someone who is waiting on you to show up for them to have the faith that they too can show up. What do you need to do? Is it a degree? Is it a job? Is it a phone call? What is it that you have talked yourself out of doing that you need to do, and it is not dangerous? The result could either be I failed, I get to try again, or I won and now I get to try at a higher level. Your brain doesn't see that this is not a life or death situation. You have to rewrite that script. If you're in a bad relationship, it's time to step. If you're in a bad place of employment, it's time to step. You need to start making your decisions based on your rules, not egocentric, status hungry rules. Because if all you want to do is get likes and shares, and all you want to do is be popular, then you are going to live a life that is not very prosperous. You're going to live a life that is very, very empty. Now, can you be successful and have status? I know so many men and women that have both, but I hate to tell you this. No, I love telling you this. These two things don't come together, but one before the other usually equals disaster, and the other one before the first one usually makes it right. So if you get your status before you have earned the success, the ship is sinking and you've got a lot more work to do, because now you got to go do the work that everyone thought you have already done, plus the work to maintain. But if you go get the success and you do the work and then finally you get noticed, all you have to do is be happy that you're successful and you finally got noticed, and then you just keep doing what you want to do. Keep doing what you've been doing. You do not have to overreact. And then your brain does not sabotage you into believing that you have to quit. There's always hope. There's always hope. Hope that the microphone comes on. Hope that you'll get another chance to make a phone call, or you'll get another chance to reconcile with that person that you've forgiven and they deserve reconciliation. If you suffer from call reluctance, if you suffer from call reluctance to your family or call reluctance to a friend or even to a customer, if your ego and your status is getting in the way of you having what you want to have, you have to stop listening to what your mind makes up, and you need to start giving your mind stuff to use so it can make up how you can accomplish it. See, the most wonderful tool that you have is also the greatest enemy if it's left unchecked. You have to give it the proper tools and the proper information for it to continue to exist. Without that, then it's just going to go fight, flight, or freeze, and it's not going to benefit you. And that's your mind. It's just not going to benefit you if you do not teach it and educate it and prove to it that hard things sometimes are not life threatening. And I need you to show up brain when I am doing hard things. It's not like it's two different people, but it is the excuse mechanism or the success mechanism for every single person that you have ever seen. The people who can overcome the fear, anxiety, and worry of what could happen and what are people going to think of me when it does happen. And they just go do the work and let what happens be what it is. Because isn't that the only thing we have? That's all we've got. What it is what it's going to be. Either you're going to be part of the success solution or you're going to be the one searching for status and falling flat on your face every time you get a little bit and you don't know how to sustain it. So there is hope, but it requires something of you. It requires you to look inside of you and take you serious and not allow yourself to go run wild with thoughts and emotions. You have to pull down and probably get some help. Sit with a counselor, maybe get a mentor or a friend and stop being so egocentric to believe that you have already created everything good in the world and the world just hasn't figured it out. You got to get some help. And if you don't want to go get help, well, just keep listening, because I'm going to tell you just as harshly as I've been told. And here's what I was told. Ray Newman, you're mentally weak. You're mentally weak. You're one of the physically strongest people I've ever met, but you're emotionally and mentally the weakest man that I have ever had to sit down. Are you willing to change? And my answer was yes. So are you willing to change? I hope your answer is yes. And I hope your answer to another question would be yes, is because all this doesn't make 100% sense because we're doing this in the vacuum of this world, this life. There's decisions that you have to make of who you believe and what you believe in. And it's really hard to control your mind when it's only stuck in this evil world with these evil people and evil concepts and evil principles. But there is holiness and good out there. But it's extremely hard to find it if you don't know what you're looking for. And I didn't understand that in a lot of these questions that were asked of me. I didn't understand because I didn't realize how bad I was. I thought I was a lot better than what I was. I'm more gooder than that, but I wasn't. Because in the eyes of a holy God, I am not very good. As a matter of fact, I'm not good at all. Because if I'm judged by his standard, I can't meet the standard. And no status and no success and no mental toughness can get me there. The only thing that can get me there is that he understood that I couldn't get there and he sent his son for me, Jesus Christ. And that son didn't only do one thing by living a sinless life, he did another thing, which was being the sacrifice that I deserve. He died in my place. Now, will I die? Yes, but I will not die the death that Jesus died, because I will not die in my sin. I will die because of sin, because of sin, all men, all humans will die and be judged. But I will die because of sin in the world, but I will not die in my sin, because he is my retribution. He is my sacrifice. He's my atonement. He is the mediator between me and a perfect and holy and just God. And I would ask you to investigate this guy called Jesus, because my life didn't make sense until I met him. My life sometimes hasn't made sense since I met him, but I'd have never sat with a counselor. I would have never done some of these things. I would have never sat there and let someone call me emotionally and mentally unfit if it wasn't for me knowing that I am unfit, that I am broken, I am a sinner, and if I did what my heart desires, it wouldn't be good. And even in my best intentions, sometimes it's really only for me. I'm very egotistical when it comes to me being taken care of, and I don't live for my brother a lot, my sister a lot. I don't have the attributes that my Bible says I should have all the time, and because of that is the reason why I know I need him so much. Because he didn't save me from that one moment. He saved me from all of them. So if you're interested in learning how to fix your life in this world, I can help you. I can give you a perspective and at least tell you the truth that the world doesn't want you to hear. But if you want the help that passes through this life and into the next, that's a message and that's a conversation I would be even more excited to have. So stay tuned with me. And thank you for listening. And as Mr. Golden would say, until the next time, in between time, don't let your mind be the enemy and let your standard be the remedy. And until you hear my voice again, go win. Go win against your mind. Go win the wars that you want to fight. And we will see you after the battles.